going on, Jerome's? Beautiful Thursday. Well, actually, I think it's supposed to rain today. But made it to Thursday. Happy Thirsty Thursday out there to those who celebrate. It's time for another Vikings news dump. And so we rally against the national media jabroni haircuts quite a bit on the show. But one national media guy yesterday was fantastic. So Josh Metellus of Vikings do-it-all, Swiss Army knife safety, was a host on Good Morning Football, and he was fantastic, man. A lot of really good insight about, since the Vikings played the Niners, the Vikings played the Chiefs this year, a little bit of insight on Jim Harbaugh. I mean, Josh Metellus definitely did it all. And, you know, Metellus, Michigan man, of course, highly educated, and I feel like, so Metellus always gets the respect from players and coaches. Harrison Smith completely gushes about him, basically calls him an extra coach out there on the field. I think if Josh Metellus wants to be a head coach when it's all said and done, after, of course, he's won a dozen Jerome Bardies with the Vikings in the next 10 years, he could do that. He could do TV, or he could do both, right? So I think he... man of many talents, and he after he hangs up his cleats, I think that he's definitely going to have many career opportunities. Just very, very impressive, and a hell of a player too. So love that. Someone I also love, Justin friggin' Jefferson. So he fed the media jackals on Wednesday, making the rounds on Radio Row. He was on with Florio. That's not a thermos. He was on with Rich Eisen. He was on with Adam Shine. Of course, that's the whole. I want to break the bank. Of course, Shine led him down that path. But he was asked, of course, a ton about Kirk. And, you know, JJ's been pretty consistent about his messaging with Kirk Cousins over the last, year, 2 years, where he wants Kirk here. He wants him in Minnesota. But if it doesn't work out, he understands that the business is the business. So I think that it's not so much that JJ's like, hey, I'm not signing my extension unless Kirk gets the same deal. Like, he knows that Kirk's not going to play till he's 45 like Tom Brady in all likelihood. But having some clarity at quarterback, that does make sense. If that's Kirk, great. If not, let's see what the new guy has. So, I think JJ's words were definitely twisted. He's like Auntie Anne's pretzel out there. Do they still have those? So we live in the South Metro. And, occasionally, like, the kids will want to get out, especially during the winter. Well, this winter not so much, but bear with me. So we'll go to, like, the Burnsville Mall, just because it's wide open spaces and you can walk around and stuff. Malls used to be the thing back in the day, man. That's where you meet your friends. That's where you hang out. That's where you try to pick up girls, and just not. It's something that is not part of today's society. Like, malls are being phased out. Everyone shops online. But the smell I always loved about the mall was the Cinnabon, the pretzel place, and also like the coffee place, whether it was Caribou or Starbucks or whatever. Just all of those smells together. Smells like wasted time and capitalism. I'm mad at it, man. Something I'm also would not be mad at if Rex Ryan gets back in the game. The Dallas Cowboys interviewed Rex Ryan for their vacant defensive coordinator position. The Athletic confirms. Now Rex, head coach of the Jets, back in the day. DC of the Ravens, also back in the day. I believe he's the outside linebackers coach for the 2000 Ravens. I think Marvin Lewis was DC back then. And Rex is one of my favorite personalities, man. And he's fine on TV, but TV is always going to be there, man. So getting him back in the game would be great. I would highly recommend the book Collision Low Crossers by Nikki Dula. Yeah, but it follows the 2010 Jets, and that's where so it followed the 2010 Jets. Rex is obviously the main character, but it goes down through the coaching staff. It goes through some of the players, and that's where I got a new appreciation for Mike Pettin. That's why I've always been, always liked Mike Pettin, even when he was with the greasy, grimy Green Bay Packers. Had respect for him, as well as Mike Smith, Smitty, the alleged Vikings outside linebackers coach, which we'll get to in a second. Really introduced him and his backstory too. But Rex, all right, so Rex used to be much larger, and then he got gastric bypass surgery. Then he lost some weight, but Rex would. So at the Jets facility, this is from the book, they would order, like if they're breaking down film or game plan or whatever, late night, they would order Mexican. And Rex would call it Rexican. And then he'd eat like 20 tacos. How great is that? It's fantastic, man. So speaking of Mike Smith, so Mike Smith took a leave of absence mid-season. not much has been talked about that. He's still currently on the team site, but apparently the Vikings, who haven't made any notable staff changes when it comes to coaches, but one little hint was here. Albert Breer, go. Dolphins are hiring Ryan Crow to coach their outside linebackers per South, a former Titans outside linebacker coach who also had interest from the Vikings, Giants, and Seahawks too. Crow is viewed as having NFL defense coordinator potential. Also, those are definitely the eyes of a serial killer. Not gonna lie, man. I mean, he's seen some things and some stuff. He wouldn't recommend it. But so that's notable that Birdie is putting out there that the Vikings had interest in him, and he is an outside linebackers coach. So maybe Smitty's moving on. I don't know, man. Is it weird? Like, that got completely glossed over. Like, Mike Smith took a leave of absence midseason. The defensive line coach took a leave. Chris Rumpf took a leave of absence midseason, and then he took a job in college. It's just crazy, man. Just crazy. Also crazy. So, Kwesi's mentor in San Francisco was John Lynch, right? And so Kwesi's coming up through the R&D department. John Lynch gets the GM job in San Fran, and hopefully Kwesi can take some lessons from John Lynch, because, I mean, the Niners have had some turds in terms of moves, right? The Jimmy Garoppolo trade, whatever. They traded up heaven and earth for Trey Lance, did not work out. They had Solomon Thomas at number 3 overall, certainly did not work out. But the moves that they've made, I mean, it works out. Whether trading for McCaffrey, whether signing Javon Hargrave, signing Traverse Ward. I mean, lots of things have worked out. Trading for Trent Williams, hell. But also the draft. So the draft has certainly worked out for them. Jumping George Kittle, 5th rounder out of Iowa. Perhaps you've heard of him. Fred Werner coming out of Utah State in the 3rd round, 2018. Bosa, whatever. I mean, it's really hard to pick the number 2 overall guy. Debo coming out of South Carolina. I loved him, man. 2019 2nd-round pick. Dre Greenlaw, 5th rounder. Let's go. Brandon Ayuk, 1st rounder in 2020, where they traded up with the Vikings. Remember, they had 25 overall. The Vikings traded down and took Jeff Gladney, rest in power. But Ayuk, imagine if you took JJ and Ayuk in the same draft. That'd be crazy. Hufanga, 5th rounder in 2021 out of USC, who I loved. I mean, come on, man. And of course, Brock Purdy, Mr. Relevant. We'll talk more about Brock here later on in the video. But these things matter. And of course, yeah, first rounder. It's easy to hit on first rounder, sure. But I mean, just the depth of some of these picks. Hufanga in the 5th, Greenlaw in the 5th, Fred Warner in the 3rd. Warner and Greenlaw might be the best off-ball linebacking duo in the league, and they got them day 2, day 3, respectively. And then Kittle in the 5th round. It's huge. It's absolutely massive, and especially when you have a team that is top-heavy with premium contracts, you have to be able to hit on these mid to late-round picks consistently, not only getting contributors, not only getting guys that just take up roster spots, but guys who can start, guys who can be high-level contributors. So, yeah. Also, don't get me started on the Chiefs, man. Like Trey Smith in 6th round, get out of here. Something that I will get in here, though. So, there's a guy on Reddit, user I'm this guy, and he has incorrectly picked the last 16 Super Bowl winners. And this is tracked like throughout Reddit. Every single year, this guy would put in his pick to win the Super Bowl, and it would lose. So he's predicting this year that the Chiefs will win. But I don't know if I still can't get myself to pick against Mahomes, but I mean, this guy's on a streak, but is he due for a loss? I don't know. Or is he literally the dude who can identify or just gets every single pick wrong? I don't know, man. It's a toss-up. Like, it's super close to me. I think that San Francisco matches up great with the Chiefs. I think that they want to run the ball right into the teeth of that fantastic defense. I think that they're going to neutralize Chris Jones to a large degree. I think that they're playing loose, fun, free football versus the last time when they're tight. And also no Jimmy Garoppolo to completely give this game away in the 4th quarter. So other than that, yeah. Also, so the Packers are looking for a new CEO. So Mark Murphy, current CEO, apparently at their company they have an age provision where once he's 70, mandatory retirement age, which is, I feel like that's ageist, but also I kind of like it. So the Packers are looking for a new CEO. I'll tell you what, here's what I can offer. So first off, I'm a minority. I feel like that goes a long way nowadays. But also, college educated, have a master's. Well, not master's, but have an MBA. And I know ball. I know the business of ball. I understand. Well, my first order of business is getting Bakhtiari off the books. And then also, I'm going to trade Jalen Reed, Elton Jenkins, Zach Tom, and who else am I going to trade? I'll just cut Rashawn Gary, and also I will trade Jair Alexander to China. Better learn Chinese, bro. But I will take Zach Tom, I will take Elton Jenkins, and I will take Jalen Reed and trade them to the Vikings for Lewisine. I will build up the Packers, and I will bring them back. Bring back that 11 field. Also, once I get fired, I better get like $50 million with a golden parachute. But it's kind of crazy. It's so hilarious that they're literally like a public team, and that's how we get the TV revenue numbers every single year. They're literally the Judas goat, just letting us know how much the league is taking in every single year. And then it's like whenever they have a CEO opening, they have to list it on Monster.com. It's crazy, man. Stick in the NFC North. So the Bears. Soldier Field is iconic, and Soldier Field kind of sucks, but good thing is it's like half empty anyways. But apparently the Bears are looking to build a new stadium, whether in Arlington, which is not Chicago, or downtown and replacing Soldier Field next to the Bean. They're going to flick it. But Bill Zimmerman, Bears beat writer, put this out. Kevin Warren, in a letter to season ticket holders, states that no location has been determined for the new stadium, but states that it will be a fixed roof stadium, not retractable or open air. So Kevin Warren, our guy, a former Big Ten commissioner, as well as former high-level Vikings executive. And, I mean, the Bears playing indoors, that just seems wrong, doesn't it? It just seems weird because in terms of the Bears, what do you expect? You expect slow guys running in thick grass, usually with black shoes, and then also cold weather. That's what you want, man. And also bad quarterback play. They still haven't had a 4,000-yard passer. Yeah, how weird that is. Like Kirk Cousins coughs and he throws for 4,200. It's crazy, man. But, I mean, the outdoor aesthetic at Soldier Field was great. The 85 Bears run. Sean Landetta and his punt going sideways off of his foot because of the wind coming off of Lake Michigan. Shutting down the high-powered Rams in a shutout. The Fog Bowl with Randall Cunningham and company. Just trying to throw it up to Harold Carmichael. It's like, hey, just chuck it up to the tall guy. I don't know, man. But, again, the Bears, this is weird. Like, well, first off, this is like a cheap knockoff of a U.S. Bank Stadium. But it just seems like the Vikings. First off, I feel like the Vikings should play outdoors. Also, what is the point of having retractable doors at U.S. Bank Stadium if you never open the doors? I don't get it. Don't understand. It was like, Tom, Dick, and Harry and Ole are at the game. They didn't get the memo the doors are going to be open. So now they're like, oh, little chilly in here, yeah. Go grab a jacket at the team store for $200, man. But no, this just seems wrong. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So basically, they should just go back and renovate Soldier Field for the 17,000th time, and make it look like they landed a spaceship on top of the spaceship. Who knows, man? Still sticking in the NFC North. So Calvin Johnson, one of the best receivers in National Football League history, big time respect there. But all right. Also, did you see that Calvin Johnson said that he smoked weed all the time before some of his late career games? And it's understandable. Where I feel like the league is holding on to that one chip in negotiation until the bitter end because it's a big one. Letting the players just smoke weed whenever they want. Well, basically right now, if you get popped for smoking weed, well, you can't be suspended, but if you fail a drug test, like you can't even fog up a mirror if you just put it in front of you because you know when the test is going to be, you know when to wean yourself off. Basically, drug tests in the NFL are IQ tests in a roundabout way. But the league, when the league goes 18 games, the concession will be, hey, we'll let you smoke weed. So that's exactly what's going to be, man. But hell, when they go to a 20-game schedule and also put a team in London, they'll be like, "Oh, now you can smoke weed there, peasants." Even though it's legal in all of your states now. But and also pain management and the smoking of pain management as a player and also as a fan of the game. Like, you know that, when guys have injuries and it's a big game and all of a sudden they're back out there, they're getting shot up with doctor, feel good, make it feel all right, as well as all the pills, all the oxy, all the painkillers. It's ridiculous. And that's why a lot of these guys who are dealing with aches and pains like severely after they retire, they get addicted to pain pills, and then all of a sudden it gets they get addicted to oxy, and then they can't afford oxy, and then they start stealing, and then they get into heroin, and then the entire society comes crashing down. I don't know what I accomplished there. Anyways, I would rather guys smoke weed for pain management than popping pills. I'm sure that a lot of them would too. But Calvin Johnson gets into his top jump ball wide receivers. First off, Randy Moss. Randy Moss was way more of a jump ball guy with the Vikings, but I digress. I feel like they're just trying to poo-poo on the Vikings. I'm surprised that Chris Carter isn't in an Eagles jersey or a Dolphins uniform, just because they love to piss on the Vikings so much. But Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, yeesh, Justin Jefferson, Chris Carter, and also Harold Carmichael. Now, I wouldn't put Chris Carter as the jump ball guy necessarily. Like, most of his great catches were all along the sideline. I mean, Chris Carter may have run like a 4.6 40, and I mean jumping wise, like him at Ohio State where he caught that one on the sideline where the quarterback was throwing it away. Maybe that's what sticks in your craw. But like older Chris Carter was like later career Michael Jordan, where Michael Jordan was just a force in the post. I mean, his days of being a high flyer and jumper were gone. That's sort of Chris Carter. That's the Chris Carter that I remember, man. And also JJ. I mean, you don't necessarily put JJ and being a jump ball guy 1-to-1, but then you remember the catch in Buffalo and then also the catch in Detroit. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but also Harold Carmichael is cheating because Harold Carmichael is 7'2". Like, Harold Carmichael is basically George Mirasan and Manute Bol. It's kind of unfair. It's like, hey, Randall Cunningham, all he did was just like, F it. Carmichael's down there somewhere. Carmichael's like boxing out. Get out of here. It's weird, man. Lastly, so Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's getting a lot of hype. So both things can be true at once. Brock Purdy was a product of the system in San Francisco during the regular season and also most of the playoffs. Second half against the Lions, Brock Purdy played like a dog, man. He played like an absolute dude. Both things can be true at once. Rooting for him and the Niners to get a Super Bowl. Why the hell not? But, we put it out there. So, Matt Campbell. You know that Matt Campbell, Iowa State, whenever like an NFL job comes open, not so much the last couple of years, but I would say for like a 3-year run, it's always like, Matt Campbell is an NFL head coaching hot candidate, right? I don't think he ever got an interview. But, I mean, Matt Campbell had talent in Ames. Yeah, Brock Purdy, who I think Brock Purdy was fine as a college quarterback. Like, he never really popped out to me in like the whole 2021, 2020 draft, 2022 draft, excuse me. But also, during that time, during Brock Purdy, who was a 4-year starter at Iowa State, you had David Montgomery, you had Breece Hall, you had King Kenny as the backup running back, you had Charlie Kohler, who ended up being a 4th-rounder by the Ravens, and also Hakeem Butler, who didn't work out in the NFL, but he was a stud outside the numbers in the Big 12. So the years that he had Brock Purdy was a 4-year starter, 2018 to 2021, went to 4 bowl games, lost 3 of them. You did win the Fiesta Bowl in the Rona season, but the best you could do was 1 9-win season. Like, you couldn't hit double digits in the Big 12 with Brock Purdy, who's supposedly so good, and all that other talent. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. But what's interesting, so Brock Purdy, number 15, it carries on a legacy in Ames because my Uncle Dean played at Iowa State, also played for the Chiefs for a second. He also played for another team, which will not be named. But he wore number 15 for the ketchup and mustard. I don't know. Also, Seneca Wallace wore number 15, man. Seneca Wallace of the run fame at Iowa State, backup for a number of years with Holmgren behind Hasselbeck. It was great. And also Brock Purdy rocking the 1-5. The Onse? No. Onso? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So a little bit of numerology podcast coming soon. So, yeah, props to that. Props to Uncle Dean. Rest in power, all that stuff. And yeah, I'm actually hoping that Brock Purdy wins just because it's going to make the discourse and discussion over the offseason that much better. Is Brock Purdy elite? Hey, pay Brock Purdy after next offseason. There you go. Anyways, that is it. That is a look at some random stuff and some things. Happy Thursday. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull, production value.